Welcome to the Getting to the Root of It podcast, where our mission is to unearth the power and potential of the CBD hemp wellness industry. Grab a seat as we root out the myths from the marketing and discover the science-backed benefits of this popular plant medicine. Hosts Bob Finnegan and Sarah Nilsson shoot it to you straight to help you make educated choices regarding hemp-based wellness.
Hello. Thank you for joining us and listening to the Getting to the Root of It podcast. I'm co-host Bob Finnegan here with my delightful co-host, Miss Sarah. How are you?
You're supposed to say, love, I look so nice this morning.
To be expected.
Come on, we practiced this, Bob.
I love what you've done with your hair. I love what you've done with your hair.
Thank you.
I see how effective the supplements are in kicking in. You have a healthy glow today.
Thank you. Yes, I'm doing well.
This is great. Well, we've covered so much ground on our early stages of our podcast. I mean, we've talked about farming, we've talked about the hemp industry, we've talked about prohibition, supplementation, all sorts of things. But I think today is a really, really amazing topic, and I'm beyond excited for our guest today. We're going to cover some really important and very, very interesting information. So I encourage you to take out your pens, open up your mind, don't drive off the road if you're listening in the car, but definitely pay attention because we've got some action packed, really interesting content today. I'm really honored to have you here, Miss Michele Morris.
Yes.
How are you?
Hello. I'm great. Thank you.
Well, welcome to Getting to the Root of It podcast. For those of you who don't know Michele Morris, you are going to get to know her and love her as much as we do. She's a master director with a wonderful brand called Green Compass Global. For those of you who haven't heard of it, is one of the fastest growing hemp wellness companies in the U.S. And she is consistently among the top 10 in the company in personal sales volume. And in addition to that, which is a huge accolade in growing her CBD business, she continues to work as a bedside nurse and remains on the board of directors for a nonprofit animal rescue near and dear to my heart, for which she routinely fosters needy dogs while they wait for their forever homes, which is so sweet.
I see what you did there. Forever.
I've actually rescued a couple of black labs, even named my business after it, one of which was blind for 9 years.
Wait,
a whole podcast in and of itself.
Wait a second. Yep. How are you blind for 9 years and then it could see?
She went blind at the age of 6 and lived to the age of 15.
Oh, wow.
And, aside from, I had a very interesting vet, quick aside, that I didn't know what you were supposed to do. And this gentleman said, don't baby her. And so I built ramps and taught her how to count steps and put in lots of shag carpeting and never moved furniture. And
I knew I liked you, Bob.
An amazing animal. And it turns out that all of her goofy features, her long nose and her incredibly wide ears that kind of wanted to go up and kind of wanted to go down, so they just sort of went out. I used to call her the flying nun, if you remember that reference. It turned out that God gave her those features for a very specific reason that we didn't know. Amazing little animal.
Oh, I just love that.
All right, so back to Michele.
Back to you, Michele.
More. There's absolutely more.
Well, that's my second favorite topic, so I'm already smiling.
Well, good. This is just buttering you up. Michele, we've talked a lot, and she attributes a lot of her success as an advocate just because, she's so passionate about a very important topic, which is the hemp plant, and really sharing that with others. Michele, it's really cool to hear how much in service you are to those wonderful furry friends of ours, but to others, it's kind of your core. And I think your latest role as a cannabis nurse and being part of the holistic caring network, I think you dubbed as a green nurse, which is super cool, educating patients on both the form and the function of this very new topic called the endocannabinoid system, and how you can teach and inspire and educate people about the safe and effective use of cannabis and CBD, and break it down in a really simple way and encourage people to think holistically about their health and their wellness, to dig in and do their own research, to really get in tune with their body and really develop personal stories of overcoming their challenges, whether it be pain or otherwise, without the use of potentially without the use of pharmaceutical therapy. And I think that that's a really wonderful mission. You've inspired a lot of people, and I know you've got a huge purpose and vision ahead. So welcome, Michele.
Thank you.
So I've talked a lot of words and titles and accolades, but in your own words, introduce yourself to the audience. Tell us about you and a little bit about your background and kind of how you found yourself here. It's really fascinating.
Right. Well, believe me, I did not think I was going to end up here with you all on a podcast about cannabis nursing. I think that makes really three nothing. Of us. This was nothing I knew anything about 4 years ago. Knew nothing. I've been a traditional bedside nurse. I've been doing bedside nursing for 25 years, and I've done, traditional med-surg nursing and then surgical ICU, and then more recently pre and post anesthesia nursing, so like recovery room. And now I've just started a new position in interventional pain management. But they've all been very traditionally set reactive type of healthcare settings. Mm-hmm. So we are treating symptoms with people. But I had been in that system myself as a patient, and at a certain point about 3 years ago, I reached where I really had a lot of aches and pains, and it was really affecting my ability to be a nurse, to do the things I wanted to do outside of nursing. And I found a CBD product, started to use it, and it literally shifted everything for me. And my mind just exploded. I'm like, wow. How do I not know about this? Why am I only learning about this now? I'm a medical professional. And if I'm just learning about this, then why is it like this? So I really fell down the rabbit hole personally of just doing self-education. I took advantage of any information I could get about the plant. And while this was happening, while I was healing myself on my own CBD journey, people were watching this happen. So my coworkers that I probably spend more time with than my own family, I know I do, they could see my body change, that I was feeling better, that I could get up out of the chair at the nurse's station faster, that I could bend down on the floor and get up, and my mood was lifted. And they were all watching me and wanted to know what I was doing, because they wanted to do it too, because we're all feeling the same, and it's been a very challenging past 2 years being a nurse, as we all know. So that's how I went from using CBD to sharing CBD, with a hemp-based wellness company. And that has organically turned into me teaching about CBD. And that's where I'm at right now.
So that's amazing. So two questions come to mind just to connect all of the story. One is how were you actually introduced to CBD? Like who was that person? Did you have any mental obstacles to overcome? Like how did you get to a place where you were able to trust that as a therapeutic effort? And then two, being virtual and a lot over the last couple of years, but how did your friends see you change? What was that process like?
These are good questions.
That's what we're here for, Michele. We ask the good questions.
So I was introduced to CBD by a friend and who is a nurse, who actually is a partner in business with me, Holly Bidlack. And we had similar issues with our bodies, and she was finding relief and shared it with me. And why I was open to hearing it at that point in time is because I was kind of at the end of my rope with the traditional system. I had exhausted all the other means that were being presented to me, and the only thing left was going to be to start using pharmaceuticals. And I didn't want that route. I felt it would impair me too much to even do my job. Mm-hmm. And so I was open to the most natural, simple way to go about this. And I tried CBD, and the rest is history. And I've already forgotten your second part of the question, Bob.
Yeah, no,
Yes.
that's interesting. Because we've all gotten introduced to CBD in different ways, and I always find that part of the equation very interesting, because if it's not the right product, it's not positioned in the right way, it's not applied in the right way, and we're going to get into this later, then you can be a skeptic or
Sure.
a critic even, or in your case, you've become so passionate, you've made it sort of part of your life purpose. So I find that really, really an interesting place to start. Second question was really related to, that journey of actually seeing improvement, and how did your friends see that? What were some of the things that they saw in you that were getting better, that were different than, the days, let's call it, prior to the to the CBD introduction?
BC.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Definitely
CBD.
Definitely physically, definitely physical improvements. I mean, just walking better, not having to call out a sick because my back was out. I mean, call out sick from work because my back was out. And mood lifting. This has been a really trying time to be a nurse, and any tool that any of us could use to lift our mood was welcomed. And, that is a lot of how I got some attention and was able to break a lot of the negative stigma around CBD and cannabis. Is, look, we need any tool we can get right now, and this is a hard time, so let's use what we've got. And it really helped so many people around me just carry on and get through.
Before we get into the real nitty gritty, can you just explain briefly for our listeners? It says that you are a cannabis nurse, or green nurse, which I think is darling. What would you say? I mean, I didn't even know that was a thing, quite honestly. So what do you do as a cannabis nurse?
Right. So essentially, I'm teaching people about how the endocannabinoid system works in our body. That's number one. And number two, how to safely utilize cannabis and other progressive tools so that they can have the best quality of life for them. It's going to look different for different people, but it's purely education. And then honestly, product selection and guidance with the use of the products. That's what I do in my particular role. Cannabis nurses in general, I mean, the role is vast. I mean, you can get into the law and ethics and all kinds of things, but that's what I do in my role as a cannabis nurse.
Okay. So let's dive in. Let's talk about, you mentioned the endocannabinoid system, which is a big word, and probably some of our listeners don't know what that is, and, definitely how it works. And so do you want to just kind of start there and tell us a little bit of, first of all, what is the ECS and how does it work?
Right. So the endocannabinoid system, for our purposes, we'll just say ECS from here on out. It's just easier to say. It is a master regulating system. So it regulates all the other body systems, like all 11 other body systems, like your nervous system, your digestive system, your skeletal system, and your immune system, like all of those. It oversees the other systems and regulates them, each and every one. So if you think of an umbrella, the endocannabinoid system, ECS, is the umbrella that goes over all of our other body systems. It's made up of a network of neurotransmitter signaling systems that they just give messages to tell your body to either do something or not do something, with the goal of achieving balance in that system and then in the body overall.
So it's important.
Oh, yeah. It is the most important system that we have in our bodies, and people don't even know we have it.
Isn't that, I mean, just that fact alone is mind-blowing to me. I know that it was discovered not until the 90s, right? And
right.
So what did we think before that? Just everything was kind of on its own, dependent of everything else? Or by the brain or something?
Yeah.
Okay.
We just didn't look at it in this way. This is a holistic view of health. And if you look at traditional healthcare, it is not holistic. Everything seems to be disconnected, and you will go to one physician for one body system and another physician for another body system. But guess what? They're all integrated, and they're all part of the endocannabinoid system.
Crazy. Okay, sorry to interrupt. Go on. So, it's a regulator, like to achieve balance throughout your whole body. And you said that there's receptors.
Yep. So we have receptors throughout our body, and if you think of traditional, let's say pharmaceuticals, you will take a medication, and it will either cause an up level of something in your body or a down level of something. It'll upregulate or downregulate. But what is different about using cannabinoids and supplementing the ECS is that there is just a balancing going on. So when you're using cannabis products, it's a balancing act. You're not creating more dysfunction that then we have to solve with another pharmaceutical.
Like the side effects, like this will cure your whatever, but you might vomit, die.
Right.
Don't
We've all
use
watched,
if you have. Yeah.
We've all watched
like,
those commercials for.
It's like
with them.
I'm not going to have a headache, but I also am not going to be able to walk. Like, okay.
Right.
I don't know how.
I think I'll just stick with a headache. Yeah. That's crazy.
Right.
So I love that. I love that simple fact too, because I've learned a little bit about the ECS over the last couple of years too, and it kind of dawned on me like, yeah, if I use something to target one specific area that something that's causing me pain or is inflamed or whatever, and then I use a pharmaceutical, for example, to help with that, well, in those quote unquote side effects, that something else is sort of wonky or out of balance, right? So that's where the side effects come in. Okay, I'm picking up what you're putting down.
Yeah, well then to make matters worse, I think the answer is often, let's give you another pill for that, which then has a series of side effects that we can treat with another. So it's kind of a strange rabbit hole that I think we find ourselves in the healthcare system.
And then people are on 8 or 9 medications for the one thing that originally caused them to go, seek help or whatever. So, okay, so here you are, you've got this system, it's regulating and it's kind of always in motion or, looking for that state of balance. Your body, I mean, you're not introducing something foreign, right? You have cannabinoids in your body.
Right. So this is the light bulb moment. This was my aha moment where I literally fell down the rabbit hole that is cannabis when I learned this fact. We have our own endocannabinoids. So if you look at this fancy word, endocannabinoid, endo means in Latin terminology, right? So inside, we have cannabinoids inside our body, endocannabinoids. If you never come in contact with the cannabis plant ever in your life, you're still going to make your own cannabinoids. Mm-hmm. And this blew my mind. I'm like, what? How did I not know this? And I began to do my own research, and I learned that we can actually nourish our own ECS by doing wellness practices that we all know we should be doing, that we're already very aware of. We can already take care of our own ECS by doing things like meditation, yoga, breath work, moderate aerobic activity, massage, acupuncture. Yeah, not like you don't
have to sweat.
Well, maybe just a tiny bit, but nothing where you can't talk and hold a conversation. Just moderate aerobic activity, energy healing, and then just common sense. Eat clean, non-processed foods. Drink plenty of water. Get a good enough amount of sleep. All these things that we know make us feel better. The reason they make us feel better is because we're nourishing our own ECS.
And by nourishing, do you mean like we're producing more, or is it like, just the chemicals that are dumped when you do those kinds of things from the brain? Like, what do you mean? How does that nourish your ECS?
It's probably a little bit of
both. So our body actually makes a cannabinoid, anandamide, and it is called the bliss molecule. It actually is a feel-good molecule. And so when you do things, I personally know that when I got involved in yoga, I felt amazing in the beginning, and that's now I understand it. It was my body just upregulating more anandamide, and I was feeling fabulous. And that is the feeling people get when that's what keeps bringing people back to yoga class or keeps people meditating. I mean, it's just, we have this system. well, we can get into another part of this conversation where why we have this system, but we do a lot of things in our day-to-day life that actually put stress on our bodies. And in a perfect world, our endocannabinoid system would be able to manage stress, right? Mm-hmm. But we have such a crazy, hectic lifestyle with all sorts of stressors and other things thrown at our bodies, like, pollutants in the air we breathe and the products we put in our body and toxins from cleaning supplies and all these things, they actually make it really hard for your body to keep up and regulate itself. And so this is where the term ECS deficiency comes from. And I do a lot of teaching with patients and even providers about endocannabinoid deficiency. It's a real thing. It is in clinical research. You can actually look it up.
Yeah,
right.
I don't think people would ever know that, or even that word. It sounds so foreign, and it's so interesting hearing you describe it, because these are, well, I would say almost everything we do is a stressor in some ways, or at least my lifestyle supports that. So, there could be a significant deficiency for me, but these modalities of breathing and yoga, these are thousands of years old. It's not new, but in many ways, the perception, I think, is, it's becoming more mainstream. There's new apps like Calm and, meditation becoming more mainstream. Yoga, obviously, being much more prevalent than it was, 10 or 15 years ago. But even with that said, there's still an opportunity for our stress to outpace that, and we need some extra support, right?
Think about that. Like, we're kind of taught, I feel like, in society to just, get through the day. Don't complain. It could be worse. You should be lucky that these are your problems or whatever, right? We're kind of always in this state of like, get it done, do it more efficient. Somebody's waiting for your job. Someone wishes they had your life. Someone wishes they had your, and you're right. Your body's only designed probably or equipped to handle so much, and so much of what these stressors that we're introduced to, that we're oblivious to on the day to day, the body's like, whoa, hey, I'm at capacity here. Right.
Yeah.
So here enter something like CBD or other cannabinoids to be able to kind of elevate those levels and help your body do its thing. So we're running around, let's just say for the sake of this call, we're kind of running around with a deficiency, right? Body's like, hey, I can't keep up. So we're noticing these things, they're going to present differently for different people, whether that's inflammation or mood or fatigue or whatever. And then lo and behold, the news comes out that you have an option, something you can take supplementally to help support that. So tell us about, okay, so I'm going to start, taking CBD. What's, how is that going to work for me, and how important is it that I am consistent with that?
Right. So, like everything we just talked about, there's all these assaults on our body. I mean, and, every body is different, and everyone is going to have a different level of endocannabinoids that they can make themselves. And so everybody's amount of supplementation with phytocannabinoids or plant-based cannabinoids like cannabis, CBD, is going to be different. It's different for every single body. It's not an exact science, like when you go to a drugstore and you know that a certain pill, like when you read on the bottle, this is the dosage a day, and it's the same thing for everyone. It's not like that with plant-based medicine. So for CBD, for example, the way I teach people is to think of any sort of vitamin supplement or mineral supplement that you would be taking. Let's say you have an iron deficiency. Okay, how is the iron deficiency going to get corrected if you only take your iron pill twice a week?
Right.
Like, you need to be consistent with your supplementation. I mean, with all kinds of supplements, it can't work if you don't put it in your body. So a major teaching point is consistency. And honestly, with your ECS, truly, yes, you may be seeing benefits with consistent use in the first weeks to months that you're taking a cannabis product, but honestly, to get the full effect, you really need to be committed to a 90-day trial of CBD. You're not going to see optimization until at least 90 days. And if you imagine the
90
more
days.
disruption you have in your body, let's say you have an autoimmune disorder, so you have a ton of inflammation. Your body's essentially been attacking itself. You are not going to fix that with 1 week of CBD. You know, it's a mountain of inflammation, and your body needs a tool and a way to climb that mountain and overcome the inflammation. And so that is where CBD comes in, and that could take 90 days. So I really tell people to please commit to, 60 to 90 days of a CBD trial before you say, this didn't work for me.
And this is every day. I mean, what happens if you're like me and you're traveling and you forget, or you're too tired to go get the tincture bottle out of the kitchen?
Yeah.
Or
you freak out because you left the house and you left all your supplies on the table.
Yeah.
In the beginning,
but
when you're first
consistency, I heard, is really important.
Yeah. In the beginning, when you're first getting started, you really need to be. That's where consistency is truly the most important. Let's say you're on. The longer you're on CBD, the more filled and optimal your receptors are going to be. So you could miss a dose here and there and really not notice it as much. But when you're brand new and you're still just trying to, fill the well, so to speak, you can't really be missing doses. And you certainly don't want to be missing days worth of doses. So ideally, multiple doses throughout the day is going to mimic the way your own ECS will work. So rather than just dumping all your product in at one dose a day, dividing that throughout the day is best, because it mimics the way your own body would be functioning. And then just do whatever you need to do to be consistent. Set an alarm on your phone. Tie your product use with things that you do every day. Like, I always brew a pot of coffee or have tea in the morning, and I always brush my teeth at a certain time every night. Pair your use around certain things. And just develop the habit. And once you start seeing the benefits, you are not going to forget to take it. You may forget to throw it in your travel bag, but you won't generally forget to take it every day.
Yeah. It's funny too, because I've heard a lot of people say over the last year or so, if they're not confident that they're noticing much of a difference, but it's when they stop taking it that they're like, oh my gosh, I realized I was sleeping better. I realized I haven't had a headache in weeks. And then they quit taking it, and and it doesn't take long, like you're saying, a couple days without it. And it's like, whoa, I was seeing a difference. Yeah.
Truly happens all the time. I see people come to me on their trial and they'll tell me, oh, well, I'm not sure it's doing anything. But then I'll ask them probing questions like, how much are you sleeping? How much are you getting up in the middle of the night? When's the last time you fought with your spouse? Things like that. And next thing you know, they're like, well, I guess, people will try to talk themselves out of the benefit of it, because it is very subtle and slow to happen for most people. And it's only when they stop taking it. And let's say people take too much of it, because sometimes people think more is better, but not necessarily with plant-based medicine. And if people are taking too much, they may become agitated or feel like they have the flu, or just have the opposite effect, because CBD is biphasic, which means less is better. More can have the opposite effect. So if people kind of get all out of sorts and they're not sure what they're doing, I just have them stop all their CBD use for 4 days, because now everything's going to leave your system, and we call this a reset, and we can start over. Right? We can just start over, start fresh, and start with a very low dose and gradually work your way up, because more is not better. And that's very different from the American mentality.
Sure.
Right.
Supersize it all. Supersize everything. Oh, it's only 25 cents more.
I was gonna ask that. That's sort of a two-sided coin. So what comes to mind, and I got to believe if I'm listening for the first time and hearing about this magical endocannabinoid system, I hear, get your head right, get your body right, breathe, move, do yoga, do what you need to do, and complement with CBD and take it consistently. That is really important. I think in many cases we're sort of taught, well, if I take a pill for something, the longer I take it, the more tolerance I would have built up. But what this is saying is, what you're saying is consistency with CBD is really, really important. In addition to that, if I take something consistently, let's say it's a medicine for sleep or a medicine for anxiety, I can't just sort of stop taking it. There could be harm in that. Whereas with CBD, that sort of reset and getting back to a consistent and measured, dosing program is the way to go. Is that am I hearing that right? Like sort of the way we're taught versus the way this process works? Is it that different?
Yeah, people ask me all the time, am I going to have to take this forever? Am I going to be, am I going to grow a dependency on this? I mean, they're thinking about it from the mindset of Western medicine and pharmaceuticals, and that this is totally different. This is such a good safety profile compared to other things that are quote unquote, recommended to treat A, B, and C. This is just such a safe wellness tool that everybody has an ECS, everybody could benefit from.
It's probably the same thing as saying, am I going to have to do yoga for the rest of my life? Like, I don't know. Do you want to feel good? Like,
have to breathe.
Am I going to have to take care of myself for the rest of my life?
Isn't it crazy? But that's exactly what it is. And it's like, do you really hear what you're saying? Like, don't you want to feel good? Like, don't you want to invest in your health? Because if you don't invest in your health proactively, which is essentially, what we're talking about with hemp-based wellness, then you're going to reactively have to deal with illness. And why not be forward-thinking? And this is where the shift in healthcare needs to go, because fixing things after the fact is so much more difficult than just being healthy and avoiding illness.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. The thing that, often prohibits us is it's too hard. And this doesn't sound that hard in the grand scheme of things. It's being consistent with CBD and having that process. So, I mean, that's a great place to start. And if you feel the benefits, as you said, you saw them physically and mentally and otherwise, you probably get addicted in a positive way to that feeling.
To the feeling, right. Exactly. And
to feeling good, yes.
Yeah, like, okay, sign me up. I'm okay with that. Don't you? What I find interesting too is that, sometimes people will turn to CBD for something very specific, whatever it might be that they're dealing with, and then they may or may not notice an effect on that particular thing, but what they maybe aren't paying attention to is all of the other things that it's supporting. It's, what people ask me, like, what do I need CBD for? Will it help with this or that? It's like, isn't it kind of like just this, especially if we're talking about the umbrella of the ECS, that it's this kind of overall supplementation, if you will, that supports everything. So even if I have one thing that I really, want to work on, it's also kind of like your daily vitamin. It's like working on other things too, and kind of going where it needs to go, for lack of a better terminology, to support all the other systems. So if I have something specific and I don't, it's taking longer for me to notice a difference with the CBD for that particular thing, that doesn't mean I'm not getting any health benefit, right?
Absolutely. I mean, that is such a good point. Very, very commonly people come to me and like, well, will this help with sleep? Or how do I take this for sleep? And I'm like, just try to wrap your mind around the fact that your body is not one issue. Your body is so complex. So we're not going to just address one issue like this. Your body's going to healing all the other imbalances is going to help your sleep. And so what do I have available to help someone with sleep? And I show people all the same product because it's whole flower hemp extracts. And this is going to help all of your issues, your sleep, your mood, aches and pains that you have. It's going to hit all the bullets. And just what I honestly ask patients and customers to do is keep a log when they start using CBD. And they are resistant to it. Most people are resistant, but even if they only write in the log once a week, they'll gradually notice improvements in other areas. Like, let's say someone comes to me for chronic pain, and as we mentioned earlier, I'm not going to be able to fix that overnight. Your body's going to take a while to heal from that. But while everything is kind of getting worked on in that department, people are sleeping better. They're digesting better. Their skin is clearer. Like all these benefits that they never expected that keep them, quote unquote, on the hook to keep using their product until their, desired effect is happening. And then maybe on week 8, they have pain relief, which sounds like a long time. But if you've been suffering for 20 years with something and you just have to make a 2-month investment that takes a minute twice a day to make you feel like the person you should be and greatly improve the quality of life, I mean, it's kind of a no-brainer. And it's just a different way of thinking than any of us have ever been taught or known about.
Speaking of that teaching, that brings me to this. So you're a registered nurse. You've been in the medical industry, you said, for years and years and years and years and years.
Too many years.
just kidding, many. Michelle. Where is this all with, like, in the greater scheme of the medical industry? Is this something that they're teaching in nursing school? It feels like, I know that it's relatively new, but kind of where is it now? And do you see that shifting at all as this is all kind of coming to light?
Yeah. When's it coming more mainstream? When are the doctors going to get behind this?
It's coming very slowly. And that's part of what we are here to do, on a broadcast like this, is to just spread the word and get people in the know. But I meet people all the time, and when I share a little bit about the ECS with them and what it does, they look at me like they literally say to me, I feel so stupid. How did I not know about this? And I share with them, look, just a little over 3 years ago, I didn't know about this either. And I'm a medical professional. Back at the end of 2018, there is this entity called the National Council of State Boards of Nursing. This entity is actually responsible for determining what nurses are taught in curriculums throughout nursing schools and Board of Nursing requirements and things like that throughout the country. They released a statement back in 2018, so several years ago now, stating that there's 6 essential areas of cannabis knowledge that nurses, nursing students, and advanced practice nurses should know. They should know all these things. And I meet nurses and physicians every day that have no idea what I'm talking about. So it's slow to roll out. There's still a stigma that all we can do is work towards breaking with education. And as long as cannabis is generally still a Schedule 1, in the Schedule 1 as far as the DEA classifies it as a drug of no benefit, which we all know is hogwash at this point. And all the research shows that. It's just going to be slow for any of these educational institutions to really jump on board and teach this mainstream, just like everything else.
There's hope. Because
so no one should feel
it's
stupid.
coming.
We're all learning together every day.
Yeah. Let me ask you this, Michelle. What do you say to the biggest skeptic? Knowing that a lot of this is misinformation, a lot of this is reframing your brain or re-education from what we were taught. It's all new. It's new to everyone. What do you say to that person?
We're living in a time where we are used to everything being so instantaneous, like instant gratification is the word I'm looking for. Plant-based medicine is not like that. We need to invest in our bodies so they can heal themselves instead of trying to run around and fix things after the fact. And our entire society is focused on getting things to happen right away and move on to the next thing and move on to the next thing. And I feel what the cannabis plant does is helps us stay grounded and focused and present. That is what's kind of lacking in the way our fast-paced society is.
Yeah. Agreed.
I feel like I want to go get off this podcast and go take some CBD. I mean, seriously. It's
and do a retreat?
It's just so, I want to go do some yoga. Oh, no, not that. No, come on. That was a lie.
Well, strangely enough, My Apple Watch just told me to stand. So now I have someone helping me. Thank you.
That's good.
I did.
Tim
I
Cook.
did install a
Thank you.
Breathe app. I did do that recently.
Yeah, breathe. Mine says that 30,000 times a day now.
Yeah.
It's like, oh gosh, I need to breathe. That's true.
But it's
Actually, that helps.
It's so true and simple and non-invasive, and anytime that you can get your body to support doing what it was meant to do, right, in a natural and effective, non-invasive way, it's like, why wouldn't you? And I think that you hit on something really key, Michele, is that we are in this instant gratification society. Nobody has time to be sick. Nobody has time to be tired. Like we're so go and on to the next thing. And we have so many responsibilities, people depending on all the things that we do. And it's like, if you think about it from this perspective of like, but if I don't make this a priority, then things are only going to get progressively worse and, harder to combat later. And, when you go through your day and you feel relatively fine, right? You don't feel any noticeable pain, or you feel, you're functioning relatively well. You're like, oh, I'm good. There's no reason for me to take CBD. I don't need anything. I don't need help right now.
Until you hit a crisis.
Until you do.
Yep. Exactly.
And then by the time it presents, there's so many things that are wonky in your body, right? That, it's kind of unraveling all that takes more time and energy. I loved this topic. And I really appreciate you, Bob and I both really appreciate you taking the time to chat with us about this very important, and there's tons of research for anybody that wants more info. They can look into that ECS, and there's tons of documented studies
Google
and
it.
videos. Yeah, just Google it and learn. But I feel like the big takeaway is that CBD can support overall balance, overall health. There's lifestyle choices that you can make to also support that endocannabinoid system, like you mentioned, like the breathing and the yoga. And you said dark chocolate, so that's the one I'm going to choose.
I did. We talked about that in our conversation yesterday. Yes, dark chocolate too.
Dark chocolate. And then just to pull it into your lifestyle and not be so focused on, do I feel better today? Do I feel better today? Where am I at with this? But really just like, this is something simple and easy that I can do to support overall health and wellness. And there's no downside to that. There's my endocannabinoid system is fine, or mine doesn't need any help. Everybody with a spine, right? Even our pets.
Right.
So
our pets as well.
So we like to ask our guests just a quick little kind of fun question or two at the end, if you're up for it.
Okay.
Michele, I would want to ask you, do you have any kind of secret talent that maybe most people wouldn't know about you?
Secret talent.
Keep it G. This is a family show.
Okay, I will. Okay, this is not glamorous or anything, but I absolutely love to refurnish furniture. Like, I love to find like old items that people have kind of left, that they have no use for, and bring them to life. It's like the ultimate in recycling. Yes. I love it. I lose all track of time. I got my sander, my paints, and rebirth something, give it a new life. Yeah, I love doing that.
I always look for repurposed things, like on Etsy or something. They always have cool stuff that people have made into other things.
So fun.
And if you weren't a green nurse, what would your dream career be?
Oh boy. Okay. Well, you guys all know I do animal rescue. So it would definitely be some sort of dog-centered business. I love those people that are pet sitters and dog walkers, and they take like 30 dogs out with them for a hike through the woods. Like, that would be my dream.
Like the Iditarod. Let's just take us up a notch, puppies. Let's go.
We have a dog walker in town that he takes like 30 dogs out for a walk in one of the parks every day.
Wow.
Like, I mean, he's like, the dog whisperer, I guess. I'm not on that level, but I'd love to do something pet related, whether it be like a dog sitting or dog training or something like that.
That's what they have? Gig. They have out here. I live on the West Coast. I'm not sure if they have these on the East Coast, but they have these like cafes, like dog and cat cafes. Do they have those there, where the dogs and cats kind of run around and you can adopt them if you want? Have coffee?
I learned about one in Rhode Island recently, a cat cafe in Rhode Island. So we're getting those.
Yeah. Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time. I learned a lot. Bob learned a lot. Bob, what are you committing to? What are you going to do to support your ECS starting now?
No pressure.
I already told you I'm going for the dark chocolate. I'm going to order me up some Doves. What do you do, Bob?
I like that. I like the chocolate approach. I definitely have been in a struggle personally to improve my sleep, and I know very much so that a lot of that's because of my brain. So I've been trying to work out more, which is sometimes aerobic, sometimes strength, sometimes breathing. So I need to do that, and I'm very, very convinced about getting on a consistent routine with CBD, because I know personally, even in a very short time and not being consistent, I feel better. I feel the benefits of those two things combined. So for me, you've given me a really, really tall challenge, but a really compelling one to get consistent. And so, and I'm probably going to do some Dove chocolates as a third.
Doves for everybody.
Part of the plan.
And with this podcast brought to you by Dove Chocolate.
They're not a paid
I'm
sponsor.
in.
Thank you, Michele. Thanks, Bob. I know our listeners are going to find value like we did,
Yeah, thank you, Michele.
Put this one on replay. So thank you, and share it with their friends and family they care about. So thank you, and to all our listeners, enjoy the rest of your day. And until next time, be well.
Thank you for listening to Getting to the Root of It. If you enjoyed today's show, visit gettingtotherootpodcast.com to access information about our guests and to sign up for our newsletter. Be sure to rate and review us wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts.